I'm going to get started here. I want to first off welcome everybody who is able to make it with us today. If you are willing to show your face, that would be lovely. If you can't, I understand. It's just nice to be able to see some other faces out there. What's going to happen is this is an approximately 30-minute session. We may go over a couple of minutes or under a couple of minutes. But the goal today is to discuss the roadmap and the writing project. I'm going to put you into breakout rooms for probably 6 to 8 minutes so you can discuss the writing projects amongst yourselves. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to bring you back, and if you have questions, you can ask me. And I want to share with you the grading policy for our class because it's a little bit different than what a lot of other people do. And it's actually new for me this semester because the school is finally offering it the way that I'd like them to offer it. So anyway, it's good to see all of you. Okay, so I want to point out that for the beginning of every single unit, there's going to be a project roadmap. And in the roadmap itself, you will have the actual writing project prompt. So when people say, where's the prompt? What am I supposed to write on? It's in the roadmap and you have it available to you right away. So I find that it's helpful even as a student to hear a writing project being said aloud. So if my teachers didn't read it, I would. And I just want to let you know that it's okay that when you first hear the writing project prompt, that you might feel a little uncertain about it. That pretty much every writing prompt, even a timed writing prompt, I'd look at it and go, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And after I was able to, take a moment to calm myself down, I was able to break it apart and start to brainstorm. And the reason for that is that the actual act of writing is the act of learning. So as you actually write your paper, even though you will have done all this preparation for the writing of your paper, the actual writing itself is also going to inform what you learn, what you need to look more into, and what you think about. So writing is actually not just a final project sort of tool, but it's a learning tool as well. So I always start out with key questions. It's really what the prompt is, but it's asked in question form, and it is meant to get you to think about it in a slightly different way if you have a hard time with looking at statements. So the key questions are, what is an unethical law, stated or implied? Meaning that there might be an unethical law that's not in the books. It's not a formal law, but it's a law that everybody understands. There's certain rules that you don't break. And one of the things that I think about in terms of like an implied law or rule is that of social media within different age categories. There are certain things that I do in my social media that my 14-year-old daughter would never do. Why are you doing that, Mom? That's not okay. And because they're just certain unwritten rules, and I don't know her unwritten rules. So that's just an example of what an unwritten rule is. Another one would be certain aspects of the Jim Crow laws. Some of them were written, some of them weren't, but you knew them because if you broke them, you could get into trouble. Not necessarily legal trouble, but you could get into physical trouble. Somebody might beat you up or hurt you or do something to you or your family, okay? So I'm asking you to look at an unethical law, stated or implied, or an actual occurrence. So maybe something happened, like a specific something happened, and it was unethical and nobody did anything about it, or what they did was not effective. So you want to look at an unethical law or occurrence, and it could be now or in the past, that needs to be changed or responded to. And it could be that there's a response, like a certain response that needs to be made about this certain thing. I do have 2 topics that are off the table, And part of the reason why these topics are off the table is that they have been written about over and over and over again. And I would like to put them on the shelf. It's not that they're not important, but I don't want you to write about these, please. And the first is abortion. The other is gay marriage. Okay, so abortion and gay marriage, they're legal right now. If you're against them, that's fine. If you're for them, that's fine, but we're not going to write about them this semester. I've seen it too many times, and I wanted you to stretch your writing chops, okay? So, the prompt unpacked. So you're going to choose an unethical law, stated or implied, or occurrence, and argue why it's unethical in a multi-paragraph essay using the ideas within ethical argument in your paper, including the procedure of verification and fallacy. So if you do not use, you could have a perfect paper, but you have not tucked in the center of your paper should be including ethical argument. If you haven't done that, then you're off prompt. And I have students who write these beautiful papers and they either mention ethical argument at the end or not at all. And that's going to be problematic. So it's really, really crucial that you have the book included here in speaking about the procedure of verification, and also making a reference to fallacy, because fallacies are there to get people to think something is ethical when it's not, or unethical when it's actually ethical, okay? So you want to make sure you point to these, because if there's an unethical law, there's a reason, and probably the reason is related to fallacy, okay? So for the purposes of our class, please make sure you follow these parameters. It's going to be 1,500 words, and in Word and or Google Docs, wherever you write your paper, there is a word counter, so you should use it. It's usually for a double-spaced 12-point font, 1-inch margin paper. It tends to be about 250 words a page, approximately. But I want you to rely on the word count because you're going to be adding a visual, and also it's a better way of noticing whether you're getting to that number. This particular paper is worth 20% of your grade. Okay, so you do need the required sources, ethical argument. Like I said, you need to use the procedure of verification or justification and respond to the fallacies. Outside sources. I am asking you to please use outside sources both from the library and the internet. And when I say internet, is that if you are choosing a topic that is newer, it might be harder to find information in the library, but I also want you to find something. And so I have a very helpful library voice thread. The voice thread that I use in my English 100 class, I'm not expecting you to turn anything in or actually even respond on the voice thread, but if you follow the slides, it will help you to do your research, whatever research you're going to do for your particular topic. Every writing project I have includes a visual source that you incorporate into your paper. And when you think about what type of visual to use, you want to choose one that makes your paper more convincing. And it says it'll label it as a figure. And there's a handout here called Incorporating Visuals that gives you examples of types of visuals. And it also helps you to put them within your paper and how to cite them using MLA. So every paper has to have a visual. I also want you to anticipate counter arguments and refer to them within your paper. So this is me helping you in terms of using fallacy. So making sure that you're discussing a fallacy, and I have a little mini lecture here again about thinking about counter argument if you've never considered counter argument in any of your writing projects. You must follow MLA format for title, page numbering, in-text citations, and works cited. And here's a little MLA mini lecture voice thread also with the basics. And then for more specifics, you can look at your writing handbook or go to Purdue OWL, which has so many wonderful resources about making sure you're following MLA. I want you to write in the third person for this genre or type of essay. So IE means that is. I want you to avoid using personal pronouns, I, me, you, etc. I want you to stick to that third person. The only exception would be is if this particular unethical occurrence happened to you. But if this unethical occurrence happened to you, you also need to be able to find outside research, and it needs to be something that you have enough to write about. And then what's going to happen is along the way, because writing is the act of learning as well, for each project, you're going to have a self-assessment, revision, reflection journal. And what you're going to do is you're going to set up a Google Doc, and this right here, this handout's going to tell you all the different posts that you need to make within your journal. But you're going to use a Google Doc, and it's going to be ongoing. So you're going to have several reflections for your first writing project, you know, during and after, like before, during, after, and then you're going to go to writing project number 2 and you're going to do it again. And so there are 4 entries for this, and this is due a couple of days after your final draft of your paper. This is mandatory, so you need to make sure that you are doing this assignment for your writing project to count. It's that important. Okay, so I just also want to share that for every writing project, I give you a problem, the audience, the purpose for each writing project. And again, even though I'm going to be the one reading your final draft of your paper, I want you to focus in on audience, because the audience isn't necessarily me. And I take that in mind as I'm reading the paper. So the audience for this paper is to convince the person, group, or institution who has the power to make changes that this particular law or occurrence is unethical. Okay, so I'm going to stop right now, and I am going to put you into some breakout rooms, and you'll have an opportunity to discuss the writing project prompt. I'm going to give you probably maybe 5 minutes to do this with the size of group that we have. You guys can talk about it, and then we're going to come back, and if you have any questions, you can ask me questions about the writing prompt. Okay, so I am going to put you into 2 rooms. I'm going to open them up, and you have 5 minutes to discuss the prompt and come up with any questions that you might have for me. All right, we're just waiting for Giselle. Wait another 20 seconds. All right, there's Giselle. All right, so do you have any questions for me about the writing project?
So I have a question.
Yes.
Does it necessarily have to be a law that we think is unethical, or can it be just like a problem in the world?
Well, can you tell me what you're thinking about?
Um, I was thinking about the like privacy terms that they have. Like when you first get an app, you know how you have to agree to the terms of agreement and then the privacy policy and stuff.
That's a perfect topic.
Okay.
Yes, that works.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it could be stated or implied. Although that's probably more stated, but it may not be a law, but it may be concerning a law, right?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, if nobody else has any other questions, what I'm going to take a moment to do right now is to share with you about my grading policy, which is different than many other teachers, and it may be even different than any other class that you have here at Cerritos College. I don't know, but I wanted to share it. And it's something new that I'm doing this semester because the school has finally set up Canvas so that I can do it this way. But all of you finished high school with a grade point average. So some of you might have had a 4.0 grade point average, or a 3.5 or 3.1, 2.5, etc. So the grading that's going to be happening in my class is going to be similar to that of a grade point average, where a 4 is an A, a 3 is a B, a 2 is a C, a 1 is a D, and a 0 is an F. Okay? So what does that look like in terms of percentages? Well, 80 to 100% is an A. 60 to 79% is a B. 40 to 59% is a C. 20 to 39% is a D. 0 to 19% is an F. So you'll see your grades in terms of points and grade point averages, but points and percentages. But I want you to think about it as a grade point average because it's going to be based on that scale. So it's a 0 for an F, 1 D, 2 C, 3 B, 4 A. And in fact, the assignments that I've assigned are in multiples of 4. So you have 4-point assignments, 8-point assignments, 12-point assignments, etc. So I want you to understand that that's how grading will work in my class because I think it is more equitable for students. So that's not what everybody does, but that's what I'm doing. So that's the way you should be thinking about it. The other thing is, in terms of turning things in and the use of the calendar, there are a lot of teachers who use due dates on Canvas. I do not use due dates on Canvas. I haven't for years because it causes me more headaches than not. Other teachers love to use it, and I understand why. It's nice for you to have it on your calendar. However, between the actual calendar we have for our class, the announcements, and the weekly checklists, you have several different reminders about what is due and when. So I want to share that in my classes also, that also means that certain assignments, like let's say an assignment was due at 11:59 p.m. on Friday night. If it was other teachers' classes, it might just close. Like if you don't get to that 11:59, it closes. For me, I'm a little bit more of, if you get it in by 2 a.m. on Saturday morning, I'm okay with that. I do see when you turn things in, and things do need to be on time. So if you don't turn in things on time, then you're subject to getting a 0. I will also share, though, I've been lenient in these first few weeks. I'm going to be moving forward and being more, you need to get these things in on time. That being said, the lowest 6 low stakes assignments will be dropped from the preparatory work. And there are a couple of late passes for writing projects. What does a late pass mean? You have 2, and each one costs 4 points. If you decide not to use your late passes for your writing projects, then you get to keep those points as extra credit. If you do use a late pass, what will happen is, let's say you have your writing project, they tend to be due on Sunday nights, so you didn't turn in your writing project on time. Let's say you turn it in on Monday at 7 a.m. That's late. That costs you a late pass. You don't have to tell me that you're using your late passes. I'll be able to see. But let's say you don't turn it in and it's due on a Sunday. You have until the following Sunday to turn your paper in. That's the gap, because I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. We are doing things on time, because when you turn in things on time, then you will be more successful in the class, because you're working with one another and you're preparing to write these writing projects. Okay, so that is my grading scale in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions about that?
I turned in my flip grid,
Okay, Giselle, can you say?
but it said that it was late, but I remember turning it in time.
Okay, so Giselle, don't.
Yeah, I said that I turned in my flip grid.
Right, but let me share something with you. Canvas will automatically put those particular marks on there. Don't worry about it. I go in and you'll get whatever grade it is you're going to get. Now, I will check to see if it's late, but the truth is I don't have any specific due dates. So Canvas is just guessing. So don't worry about that. I'll be able to.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. Anybody else? All right. Have a wonderful weekend. We will have another Zoom session for our next unit. For this particular Zoom session, all you have to do is turn in the date that you attended, which is very easy to see. It's, today. Those people who are watching the video, you need to turn in notes. Those of you who are here in person, you don't have to write any notes or anything extra for this. Okay? Thank you. Have a good one.
Lambert.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.